My chronic illness destroyed my illustration career just as it was beginning to take off. And now, 4 years later, I'm struggling to rebuild it. In this video, I'll talk about what my strategy and plan is for rebuilding my art career. Since I'm doing such a major overhaul and reorienting of my art career, I'm offering a lot of original work that doesn't fit with my new direction at really unbeatable prices over on my website. I'll leave the link down below and I'll talk a little bit more about this later in the video. Hello! Welcome back to the studio, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Lee. I'm a botanical and natural science illustrator. I paint crusty twigs, lichen, fungi, plants, sometimes some bugs, skulls, and birds, and very occasionally I'll do some food illustration. I work in watercolor and ink, and on this channel I share watercolor techniques and tips and some insights into my daily life as an illustrator, which recently has focused a fair bit on dealing with my chronic illness and life as a service dog handler. I've been an illustrator since 2015, and full-time, or at least this is my only job since 2017. I was very lucky at the time. My spouse was able to support us while I built up my career initially. That being said, I've always been pretty serious about, this isn't a hobby for me, this is my job. And by 2019, I was, I'd say, fairly successful. By the end of 2019, I was pulling in a few $1,000s a month. However, while things were really great on the outside, they weren't so great on the inside. And with the backdrop of the pandemic, my health just kind of collapsed. Since then, I've been struggling to rebuild. I have a video up, I will link it up above, where I discuss some of my health struggles in a little bit more of a raw way. I don't really want to revisit that, and I don't really want to dwell on it. I'm trying to be positive here and just productive and talk to you about what I'm doing now. So when I started my art career initially, I didn't really go in with a plan. I just kind of threw everything at the wall. I never paused to really think about what success looked like to me and manage my career in a project sort of way, like project management. And if you know anything about me, that's a little bit hilarious or embarrassing, whatever, because my background prior to going into illustration, I have a degree in civil engineering, with one of my specializations was construction project management. So I literally have a degree in project management, and yet when I quit my career in project management to go become an artist to start my own business, I never once approached it as a project to manage. So first of all, let's talk money. What does it actually take for me to consider myself successful in my art career? It's just not a question that I'd ever really considered. And I got a lot of clarity from a sort of surprising direction. Amidst all of the chaos, I have a chronic illness that I don't have a handle on, and our basement flooded, and we have a new puppy who's a disaster. My husband sprung on me a couple of years ago that actually he's changed his mind and he would like to have children, and he'd like to take parental leave to take care of them. I love kids, but I don't want to be mommy as my full-time thing. So when we got together, my spouse and I, that was what we discussed, was like, well, if he wants to take some time and be a father, then we can do that. But I don't want to be the one to take huge amounts of parental leave off from work. So in general, I'm very positive about this, but the problem is now that I am no longer an engineer, and in fact, not only am I a freelance artist, which was never the most stable career, but that for the past few years, I've actually not been able to work very much at all. It's going to take a lot of effort to transform my career into something that can support a family. But nonetheless, that's the goal. So, at some point in the next rolling 10 months, I need to figure out how to earn enough money from my painting crusty twigs career to support a big chunk of my household income. Do you know those HGTV shows where there's a couple and they need to, I don't know, renovate their house or buy a new house or something, and they've got a budget? And you get these introductions where it's like, I'm a butterfly catcher and my husband is a part-time cartwheeler. Our budget is $2 million. Well, basically that's our goal, right? I paint crusty twigs and my husband takes care of the kids and builds some frames for me. Our budget is $2 million. Fortunately, our mortgage is not actually $2 million. And we do live in Canada, so my husband will get parental leave from the government, which definitely helps. But because of my chronic illness, I actually depend for my business and my life on 2 assistants. And while the canine assistant takes payment in dog treats, the human one not so much. So that gives me some tangible how much money goals. Now, the next question is how. How do I want to earn that money? And the first order of business was looking at how I've run my business in the past and what parts of that model do I want to keep. And there's actually a fair bit, not just the cool travel opportunities. One thing I realized is that while I find individual personal commissions a little hit and miss, some of them have been great, but others not so much, I do really love doing editorial and print commissions. So this is my illustration of the Canada Food Guide. It's a self-commission. I wanted to start mailing postcards. And so I have a list of illustrations that I'm doing that I think adapt well to that postcard format, and so this was the first one of them. I'd like to move the commission portion of my business towards more print and editorial illustrations. In particular, I would love to do more developed infographic type large illustrations. And that's commission work, but commission work has the disadvantage that you are beholden to when clients contact you, and unfortunately illustration commissions don't pay as much as they maybe have at some points in the past. Similarly, I've realized that I tend to gravitate towards activities that are about communicating information in a sort of educational role. So I wanted to make sure that I was still giving myself enough room to be that technical communicator and that arts educator that I tend to gravitate to being. In terms of my activity here on YouTube, I hope that this will be a focusing of my direction, where I'm really focusing on creating more educational content, more technical communication, and less getting caught up in trying to chase the algorithm. Because ultimately for me, YouTube is not my main career goal, it's just a way of supporting and communicating the other work that I do. I also really wanted to find a way to still teach some sort of courses or workshops. So another thing that I'm working really hard on right now is building up an online course and workshop program. I've taught a lot of courses and I really enjoy teaching, but I stopped teaching with the backdrop of the pandemic. So all of the courses that I primarily taught, I've done a little bit of one-on-one coaching since, but all of the group courses that I taught were in person. And then I'm limited by, I have a fairly narrow niche. There's a max number of people who are going to sign up for this course. There's a max price that they're going to pay. So that was a little bit limiting. Like I was starting to get to the limit of where this doesn't scale much more. So I'm really looking forward to teaching my courses online. And luckily I've actually developed a lot of these curriculums. And so it's just a matter of creating video content and building a discussion platform to support a class discussion. I am committed to having one-on-one interaction and building a course community even if I'm teaching online. So I just started my first Patreon mini course. My Patreon link is down below. You can go check it out. This is a really affordable way to see how my courses are going to work, and it's also a way that I'm using to develop my course system. I'm doing a group cohort online course with recorded videos, live feedback, one-on-one interaction, and a course discussion board so that we can have the advantages of having a group of people in the course interacting with each other and interacting with me, and I can answer questions and give direct feedback. But also you can be anywhere in the world and you can do the assignments on your time, and so it's that balance of flexibility with also in direct one-on-one feedback. So I'm really excited about it. I'm teaching a plein air in watercolor and ink course over on Patreon right now, and then I am teaching my Are You Afraid of Watercolor Confidence course starting September 1st, which you can purchase over on my website. Both of these are linked down below. Now, there were two big high-level decisions that I still had to make about how to approach my relaunch career. The first one is, what does success look like to me money-wise? And again, this is something that I had just not really thought about. I wanted to earn money. I had some notion of needing a living wage. I would joke around about, oh yes, when I'm rich and famous, but I didn't actually figure out what it would take for me to be happy with my earnings. And then in a related issue, I needed to figure out how I was going to distribute my time, in particular outside of commissions. Like, yes, it's great if I take some publishing or editorial commissions and I teach some classes, but functionally, if I'm an artist, if I'm an illustrator, a lot of the time I'm going to be working on self-initiated projects. What do those look like? How am I earning an income from them? What does that income look like? What does that life look like? When I started painting as a career, I was just painting a little bit of everything, whatever I found interesting. And over the past few years, I've gotten some real clarity about the direction that I want to take my work in the future. The final big piece is, well, where do I want my art, where do I want my illustration to really be focused? And this is where I'm super inspired by the people around me, the artists in my network. One of my studio mates in particular, Charles Smith, is a bead artist. And when she started, she did little jewelry pieces in little tiny boxes, and she went from there into these more abstract sculptural works. And now she's just exploded into these room scale architectural installations that are just stunning. And it's all the same techniques, but it's this completely different evolution of her craft. And that really inspires me. And so thinking about what kind of art I want to do, I'm really interested in developing further and focusing on what is interesting and fascinating to me about the world and making art that tells a story. So throughout my illness, I've been sort of quietly working on my passion project, On the Skin of Giants. On the Skin of Giants is an exploration of tree bark as ecosystem. So it's all of the lichen and mosses and fungi that live on the bark of trees. Each of the pieces acts as a window into a different world. With my On the Skin of Giants series, I'm working on increasingly large-scale paintings of increasingly complex environments. The first exhibition is currently up at Button Factory Arts, which is a local community art center. And I'm looking forward to taking this concept further and evolving it in various different directions, which I will talk about in future videos. I have the first batch of On the Skin of Giants paintings available on my website, as well as I also have made limited edition prints of some of my favorites from the collection. Now, because these paintings are increasingly large and increasingly detailed, and also I need to take into account my experience level and the costs attached to me creating my work, I am increasingly outside of the affordable art market with the newer projects that I'm taking on. And so the other thing that I've done is I have switched to a limited edition print model where I am working with a local printer who does color matched giclées on cotton paper. So it's very similar paper to what the original paintings were done on. They're color matched. And if you can't spring for a whole original painting, but you really like my work, you can get a limited edition print. They're in short runs of maximum 25 each. And my prints now are all hand signed and numbered, lovingly by hand. They're not quite one of a kind, but they are as close as you can get without paying for the huge amount of time that goes into these detailed pieces. Again, all of the links for my prints and original work are all in the video description down below. While I'm trying to maintain focus on the long term and how to build up my business, the truth is I'm also in a huge crunch right now. I've done something that I have some mixed feelings about. It may have been a bit of a panic reaction. Let me know down in the comments below, but I have gone through my studio and started to gather up all of the paintings that I have that don't belong to any particular larger exhibition project. I've listed them in their own section on my website called my Studio Reboot sale, where I've made them available for very, very affordable prices relative to what I've charged in the past and what my newer pieces are costing. And I have some complicated feelings about this. I have in the past always subscribed to the concept of you never, ever, under any circumstances, offer original artwork on a clearance sale because it undercuts your own value, not just for that piece, but also going forward. It makes people who purchased your work in the past feel like maybe they didn't get the best deal, and it undercuts collectors in the future who aren't going to want to buy stuff if you sometimes have things that are way cheaper. And while I agree with all of that, you see, I just had an exhibition. I just had my opening for my On the Skin of Giants sneak peek exhibition, and the people who came by, I got repeated comments about like, oh, this is beautiful, I love it so much, but I can't buy this. Anyway, yeah, I have some complicated feelings about that, and I wonder whether I screwed up by offering artwork at like 30 to 60% off in my Studio Reboot sale. But regardless, what's done is done. So if you would like to pick up some last chance original artwork, check out my Studio Reboot sale. Again, links down in the description below. And while you're down there, also comment down below about your thoughts about art pricing and sales in the long run. How badly did I screw up? While in the long term, I don't really expect to keep doing high volumes of original art sales, I am bringing back a portion of my business that I had long since abandoned because I couldn't manage it. But now, with the help of my assistant, I'm able to run a web shop and sell merch again. Actually, before I fell off the map, while I was still running my successful illustration business, I shut down. At the time I had an Etsy shop and I was selling little cards and digital prints. And the overhead of packaging cards and prints, even though I was getting regular orders, it just took up too much of my time and focus for me to be able to keep that up when I was running on fumes. So I shut that down, and I haven't had a store for a really long time until recently I reopened it. What I'm doing differently now is that I have an assistant, and my assistant does all of the fulfillment on my shop. So when you buy a physical product from me, my assistant Destiny packages it up. She's also doing a lot of maintenance and updating on my websites. And we are gradually working on adding not only original artwork, courses, and other materials, but also adding some really cool art supplies and merch. We've got some nice little stickers that we've added. So these are vinyl stickers. I'm hopeful that merch like stickers, cards, etc. are something that I can also get into local gift shops or wholesale. So although I am not directly super involved with the day-to-day management of merch sales, I'm really looking forward to having that again, and to also expand to having cards and stickers and stuff in gift shops, etc., so that that can be an ongoing income. So anyway, I look forward to hearing from you down in the comments below. As always, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so that you'll be notified when my next video comes out. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.